Let's start with the remarkable tale of Sergeant Stubby. Fast forward to 1927, and we meet Marcia Pinkenfield, a 6-month-old baby who was unexpectedly crowned the most beautiful child in America. Hailing from a small town in Illinois, her parents entered her in the competition almost as a joke, but to their surprise, Marcia took home the grand title. Next, we soar into the sky with Ivan Unger of the Flying Black Gnats and the fearless Gladys Roy, who put on an unforgettable mid-flight tennis match on the wings of a biplane. Dressed in classic tennis attire, the duo balanced not just themselves, but also the limits of aerial acrobatics, thrilling onlookers with their daring performance. Moving into the 1950s, New York City police began using walkway cars to patrol congested urban tunnels. These small vehicles, which moved on narrow tracks, allowed officers to quickly navigate through dense traffic where regular cars couldn't go. One iconic photo shows an officer aboard one of these cars, stopping a driver in the busy tunnel. Jumping to a moment of profound humanity, we see Pope John Paul II in a prison cell, face to face with Mehmet Ali Agca, the man who attempted to assassinate him in 1981. Just 2 years after the attack, the Pope met with Agca in a powerful act of forgiveness, embodying compassion after the shocking event that almost claimed his life. We then travel back to 1920, where a photo captures a unique parking solution in New York, a parking building with car elevators. These vertical structures were a clever response to the city's scarce and costly land, showcasing innovative urban planning at its finest. In 1944, as the end of World War II approached, the U.S. government created illustrations of potential disguises Adolf Hitler might use to evade capture. With his status as one of the most wanted war criminals, there was rising fear that Hitler might attempt to escape justice in a disguise. On the same dark note, we see the damaged trousers of Adolf Hitler after the failed assassination attempt at the Wolf's Lair in July 1944. A bomb, planted by conspirators, exploded during a military meeting, killing 4 people but leaving Hitler with only minor injuries. His burned and torn trousers became an eerie reminder of that day's failed plot. Lastly, we dive into the Great Depression, where a striking photo shows Al Capone's community kitchen. Known as one of Chicago's most notorious criminals, Capone surprised many by opening a kitchen to feed the hungry during a time of immense hardship. It's a complex glimpse into a figure who was both feared and, strangely, philanthropic. And to close this episode, we see Ferdinand Porsche in 1935, proudly presenting a model of the iconic Beetle to Adolf Hitler. A moment that marked the beginning of a legendary automat. Stay tuned for more intriguing moments from history. And don't forget to subscribe for your daily dose. Porsche, widely recognized for founding the iconic sports car brand, also played a key role in the development of the Beetle, a car designed for the German masses. Commissioned by the Nazi regime, Ferdinand Porsche was tasked with creating a people's car for Volkswagen that was affordable, reliable, and economical for German families. Meanwhile, in the heart of Berlin, the Führer bunker, an underground shelter, served as Adolf Hitler's command center during the final months of World War II. It was in this secret bunker, in April 1945, that Hitler and his wife, Eva Braun, took their own lives as Soviet forces encircled the city, signaling the inevitable collapse of the Nazi regime. Another poignant moment from the war era is captured in a photo of General George S. Patton's dog, a loyal bull terrier named Willie, mourning his master's death. Patton, the famous American general, was deeply attached to Willie, often taking him along on his military inspections and travels. Patton believed that the dog brought him comfort and luck during the high-pressure situations of war. In an unusual medical experiment from 1925, Dr. Heinz is seen in Berlin administering fluids taken from a live hair into a human patient. This procedure, combined with ultraviolet light and physical exercises, was part of an experimental treatment Dr. Heinz claimed would rejuvenate the human body, a theory that captured attention at the time. Another incredible moment from the 1920s is the story of Samuel Reshevsky, a chess prodigy who, at just 8 years old, astonished the world with his talent. In a New York exhibition, he faced 20 opponents at once, winning 19 games and drawing just one, solidifying his reputation as a future chess master. In 1934 Austria, political turmoil gripped the nation, and a photo of an armored car from the Heimwehr patrols the streets. The far-right paramilitary group played a controversial role in maintaining order, often violently suppressing opposition movements during these troubled times. Jumping ahead to 1981, an infamous photo shows Pablo Escobar and his son standing casually in front of the White House. At the time, Escobar was at the height of his power, leading the Medellin cartel, which controlled 80% of the global cocaine market. The cartel was moving 15 tons of cocaine daily into the U.S., generating a staggering $420 million each week. In another lesser-known historical snapshot from 1932, two women trained with firearms on Roosevelt Island in New York. At the time, prison practices were evolving to include rehabilitation and training programs aimed at helping inmates reintegrate into society more smoothly. A powerful image from World War I shows a banquet held in honor of French soldiers, known as the Broken Faces, those who had suffered severe facial injuries during the war. Many wore masks to cover their disfigurements, and the event was a tribute to their bravery and sacrifice. In the 1930s, European circuses were known for their exotic and dangerous performances. A photo from 1933 shows a circus performer in Berlin swimming in a tank with live crocodiles, demonstrating the extreme lengths entertainers would go to captivate audiences. One final historical moment captures Albert Einstein's office, just as he left it on April 18, 1955, the day he passed away. The modest space at Princeton University, where Einstein spent his last years, is a testament to his tireless work. His chalkboard and books, left open, offer a glimpse into the mind of one of history's greatest thinkers, who, even in his final moments, was striving to unify the laws of physics. Lastly, a 1918 photo shows the first food truck, adapted from a Ford Model T, serving quick meals to workers in Washington, D.C. This mobile kitchen, made with just a few boards and planks, provided sandwiches, fruits, and hot beverages to the bustling city's population, a precursor to the food trucks we know today. In 1957, the legendary filmmaker Alfred Hitchcock met Leo the Lion, the iconic mascot of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, during a visit to the MGM studios in Culver City, California. Although Hitchcock wasn't directly affiliated with MGM, his visit sparked discussions about potential collaborations, though many of these projects never came to fruition. Following the end of World War II, Nazi soldiers were forced to confront the horrors they had enabled. The Allied forces made a point of showing regime members footage of concentration camps, ensuring they witnessed firsthand the atrocities committed. Many were taken to cinemas or the camps themselves to see the immense suffering inflicted on millions of innocent people. In 1941, the fascination with the mystical reached new heights as a telepath attempted to hypnotize a chimpanzee. Hypnosis and telepathy shows, along with other supernatural feats, drew large crowds, with performers pushing the boundaries of science and altering people's perceptions of reality. A dramatic moment from the Vietnam War is captured in 1967, showing American pilot John McCain being pulled from Truckback Lake in Hanoi by Vietnamese forces. After being shot down during a mission, McCain ejected from his plane and crash-landed in the lake, suffering severe injuries. His subsequent capture led to 5 brutal years of imprisonment at Hoa Lo Prison, where he endured torture and inhumane conditions. In 1966, the astronauts of Apollo 1 were photographed during water landing training. Tragically, these men never made it to space. Months before their mission, they died in a devastating fire during a test on the launch pad, marking one of NASA's darkest moments. A nostalgic image from 1961 shows Disneyland employees still dressed as their characters while in the cafeteria line. Though such scenes are no longer visible backstage, the meticulous Disney look policy remains in place, ensuring every employee's behavior contributes to the park's magical experience. In 1968, a revolutionary innovation was unveiled, the first computer mouse. This device transformed human interaction with technology, replacing the tedious use of punch cards and complex commands with a more intuitive and accessible interface. In 1926, Commander Richard Byrd, donned in a leather helmet and mask, posed before embarking on his historic Arctic flight. Alongside pilot Floyd Bennett, Byrd claimed to be the first to fly over the North Pole. The daring 15-hour journey, over 1,360 miles, was a remarkable achievement for the time. Back in 1882, Old Reeve introduced a groundbreaking invention, a tricycle. This design offered a stable alternative to the precarious bicycles of the era, providing a practical solution for those struggling with balance. A haunting image from Nagasaki in 1945 shows the sky just 20 minutes after the atomic bomb was dropped. 3 days after Hiroshima, the Fat Man bomb exploded over Nagasaki with a force of 21,000 tons of TNT, causing unprecedented destruction and claiming around 40,000 lives instantly. A striking photograph from the 1930s shows a group of 30 men standing atop a DKW F-7 vehicle in Germany. This image symbolizes the impressive durability of the car, which emerged during a time when the automotive industry was innovating to adapt to the challenges posed by economic hardships and new technologies. Finally, in 1878, the head of the Statue of Liberty was displayed at the Third World's Fair in Paris, drawing large crowds. This exhibition helped rally public support and funds needed to complete the monument, which was facing financial difficulties at the time. French sculptor Bartholdi's intricate work on the statue captivated thousands, marking a pivotal moment in the statue's journey to becoming an enduring symbol of freedom. In 1922, German children are seen playing with stacks of worthless money, a tragic symbol of the hyperinflation crisis that devastated the Weimar Republic. After World War I, Germany was forced to pay enormous reparations under the Treaty of Versailles, and to meet these obligations, the government printed vast amounts of money. This resulted in such extreme devaluation of the currency that it became nearly worthless, with everyday items costing astronomical sums. The legendary inventor Thomas Edison, best known for his creation of the electric light bulb and the phonograph, was also a visionary in the development of electric vehicles. In an early 20th century photo, Edison poses next to an electric car he helped create, believing these vehicles had great potential due to their quiet operation and simple mechanics. His passion for innovation extended far beyond the inventions that made him famous. On a cold November morning in 1933, a crowd gathered under the Boren Viaduct in Belgium, drawn by reports of a miraculous apparition of the Virgin Mary. The previous day, children from a local Christian school claimed to have seen a sacred vision while playing near the viaduct, describing a serene presence. Word spread quickly, attracting worshippers hoping for a similar divine experience. In 1937, George Orwell, the future author of 1984, donned a military uniform to fight in the Spanish Civil War. Born Eric Arthur Blair, Orwell joined the Marxist Unified Workers' Party militia, an anti-Stalinist leftist group. His time in the trenches and his exposure to political betrayals deeply influenced his later works, shaping his critical perspective on authoritarianism and totalitarian regimes. During World War II, British military forces in India ingeniously disguised their vehicles as elephants. This clever camouflage technique allowed the vehicles to blend into the natural landscape, confusing enemy forces during aerial and ground reconnaissance. The strategy provided excellent cover for troop and supply movements in the region. A famous photograph captures Marilyn Monroe and Tom Ewell on the set of The 7-Year Itch in 1955, during one of the most iconic scenes in film history. In this unforgettable moment, Monroe's ivory dress is blown upwards by a subway ventilation grate, revealing her legs in a playful and seductive pose. The scene became a defining image of Monroe's career and a symbol of 20th century pop culture. By the late 19th century, the majestic sequoia forests of California were under severe threat from logging. In response to the devastation, Sequoia National Park was established in 1890, preserving natural wonders like the Mark Twain tree, shown here in an early photograph. This park was one of the earliest efforts to protect and conserve America's natural ecosystems. Between 1920 and 1930, flocks of sheep were a common sight in London's parks. The city introduced sheep as a natural solution to manage the grass height in public spaces as the technology for modern lawn care was not yet available. These sheep functioned as living lawn mowers, providing an economical and eco-friendly way to maintain London's greenery. In 1930, children in California took part in one of the first Mickey Mouse Club gatherings, wearing masks of the beloved character. This club was part of Disney's early marketing strategy, building a community around Mickey Mouse, who had already become a cultural icon by the late 1920s, captivating audiences young and old. In 1903, One Times Square was under construction at the corner of Broadway and 7th Avenue in New York City. Originally built as the headquarters for the New York Times, this steel-frame skyscraper was a pioneering architectural feat, allowing it to rise over 20 stories high, a rare achievement at the time. The building would eventually give its name to the famous area, Times Square. In August 1919, just weeks after the Allied victory parade in Paris marking the end of World War I, pilot Charles Godefroy pulled off an extraordinary stunt by flying his biplane through the Arc de Triomphe. With only 18 feet of clearance between his wings and the sides of the monument, this daring maneuver required incredible precision and nerve. A haunting 1945 photograph shows Soviet cryptographer Igor Gouzenko, his face obscured during an interview. Gouzenko's defection to Canada exposed critical Soviet espionage operations during the Cold War, making him one of the most famous defectors of the era. His revelations had a profound impact on global intelligence and security dynamics in the post-war world. While working at the Soviet embassy in Ottawa, Igor Gouzenko uncovered a major Soviet espionage network operating in Canada. In a bold decision, he defected, smuggling over 100 classified documents that exposed the scale of Soviet intelligence activities. His revelations led to the arrest and conviction of 29 individuals involved in espionage, dramatically shifting Canadian and Western perceptions of Soviet infiltration during the early Cold War. On November 16, 1942, Beth Pitt was spotted walking through downtown New York with her pet deer, Star Message. Earlier that day, she was fined $2 for letting the deer roam freely in Central Park. The sight of a woman casually strolling with a deer captivated onlookers, adding an unusual twist to a typical day in New York City. A striking photo from the Vietnam War shows an African-American U.S. soldier reading a tombstone inscription left by the Viet Cong. The message denounced American military actions in Vietnam, comparing them to the crimes committed by the Ku Klux Klan against black families in the U.S., challenging soldiers to reflect on the contradictions of their role in the conflict. In 1917, a revolutionary underwater suit known as the Iron Man suit was developed, allowing divers to explore deeper ocean environments. Made from articulated metal plates, the suit provided flexibility while withstanding immense pressure at the sea floor, a major breakthrough in deep-sea exploration technology. In 1911, a cinema entrance displayed a poster for Trip to Mars, an early science fiction film that captivated audiences with its imaginative depiction of space travel. With tickets priced at just 10 cents, this film offered a glimpse into the fantastical idea of exploring other planets long before space travel became a reality. A haunting photo taken 2 days before the Titanic tragedy shows the very iceberg that collided with the ship. On the fateful night of April 14, 1912, the ocean was unusually calm, making it difficult to detect the iceberg as there were no breaking waves against it. Despite warnings of ice in the area, the ship's crew spotted the iceberg too late, leading to one of history's most infamous maritime disasters. In 1989, images of people tearing down the Berlin Wall marked the symbolic end of nearly 3 decades of separation between East and West Berlin. Crowds gathered with pickaxes and hammers, dismantling the wall that had divided families and ideologies for so long. The wall's destruction heralded the end of the Cold War and the reunification of Germany. A behind-the-scenes look at Julia Child on the set of The French Chef reveals 5 hidden assistants helping her with recipe preparation. Premiering in 1963, the show made French cuisine accessible to American audiences and set the stage for the modern cooking show format. Child's attention to detail and lively personality turned cooking into entertainment, leaving a lasting legacy in culinary media. In 1899, Louis Boutin, a French biologist, captured the world's first underwater photograph, a groundbreaking achievement. At the time, divers wore heavy, inflexible suits with metal helmets and air tubes connected to the surface, making Boughton's work all the more impressive in the context of the primitive diving technology of the era. In 1914, the renowned suffragette leader Emmeline Pankhurst was arrested outside Buckingham Palace while attempting to deliver a petition to King George V. The petition demanded women's right to vote, a cause Pankhurst had tirelessly championed. Her arrest was a pivotal moment in the fight for women's suffrage in the UK. The rapid growth of Los Angeles during the 1950s is captured in a photo showing a line of moving trucks as families relocated to the expanding suburbs. The city's population boom was driven by a strong economy, increased car ownership, and a housing construction surge, reshaping the landscape of Southern California. A photo from the start of World War I shows a young Adolf Hitler among a crowd of Germans celebrating the war's outbreak. At this time, Hitler was just one of many who were swept up in the rising tide of nationalism. This moment marked the beginning of his political journey, which would eventually lead him to become the dictator of Nazi Germany. During Prohibition in the United States, bootleggers employed clever tactics to evade law enforcement, including wearing shoes designed to resemble cow hooves. These shoes disguised their tracks, making it difficult for authorities to trace the routes used for transporting illegal alcohol. Prohibition spurred the rise of clandestine distilleries and secret speakeasies across the country. In 1925, John T. Scopes, a high school teacher in Tennessee, was put on trial for teaching Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, in violation of the Butler Act. Known as the Scopes Monkey Trial, the case sparked a national debate over science, religion, and academic freedom. Scopes was convicted and fined $100, but the trial highlighted the deep divisions in American society regarding the teaching of evolution in schools. In the 1960s, Harvey Rossball, a graphic artist and World War II veteran, posed with a serious expression beside his famous creation, the iconic smiley face. Ball was hired by an insurance company in Worcester, Massachusetts, to design an image that would boost employee morale. In under 10 minutes, he sketched what would become one of the most recognizable symbols worldwide, the simple yellow smiley face. A solemn photograph, likely the last ever taken of Nicholas II of Russia, shows the former Tsar after his abdication in 1917. With the fall of the monarchy, Nicholas was stripped of his power and placed under constant surveillance. Not long after, he and his family were executed by the Bolsheviks in Ekaterinburg, marking the tragic end of the Romanov dynasty. A photo from the Great Depression shows a woman cooking on a wood stove. This type of simple, rustic stove was essential for many families during that time, both in rural and urban areas. With limited access to electricity or gas, or the inability to afford modern appliances, families relied on these stoves to prepare their meals. In the 1950s, West Germany saw the rise of futuristic baby strollers, a reflection of the era's fascination with post-war reconstruction, technological innovation, and the excitement surrounding the space age. These futuristic designs embodied the optimism and forward-looking spirit of the time. In a photo taken in the old Cincinnati Public Library, which opened in 1874, a man walks through its towering corridors among roughly 300,000 volumes. Sadly, the building was demolished due to modernization needs and high maintenance costs, and today, the site is occupied by an office building and a parking lot, erasing a once grand repository of knowledge. On February 22, 1962, Robert Kennedy, the U.S. Attorney General, stood alongside Berlin's mayor, Willy Brandt, observing the Berlin Wall, a powerful symbol of division during the Cold War. Kennedy's visit underscored U.S. support for West Germany amid growing ideological and military tensions. In 1935, Grant Wood used local models to create his masterpiece, American Gothic, which depicts two solemn rural figures. Though the painting may appear to be a simple portrayal of farm life, it became an enduring symbol of the resilience and hardship faced by American farming communities during the Great Depression. An early photograph from 1912 shows a young man testing a football helmet by head-butting a wall, highlighting the nascent stages of developing protective equipment in American football. At this time, player safety was only just beginning to be considered in sports. Simone Seguin, an 18-year-old French resistance fighter during World War II, courageously fought against the Nazi occupation under the codename Nicole Minet. Having joined the resistance at just 17, her acts of bravery included ambushing German troops, liberating cities like Chartres, and aiding in the protection of Allied prisoners. In 1957, engineer James A. Craig demonstrated a groundbreaking mobile radio telephony system in Clifton, New Jersey. This pioneering system allowed people to make calls from one vehicle to another without requiring assistance from local telephone operators, marking the beginning of modern mobile communication. A significant photo from 1961 captures the beginning of the Berlin Wall's construction. In August of that year, the East German government, backed by the Soviet Union, erected the wall to stem the flood of citizens fleeing to West Germany. The wall, first built with barbed wire and concrete blocks, aimed to preserve the Eastern regime's stability by preventing the loss of skilled labor. A historic meeting in 1919 between Helen Keller and Charlie Chaplin brought together two figures who made a profound impact on the world without relying on verbal communication. Keller, who was deaf and blind, overcame immense challenges to advocate for the rights of people with disabilities, while Chaplin's silent films used visual storytelling and humor to reach audiences worldwide. In 1928, a photo marks the beginning of the Michelin Hour, a creative strategy by the Michelin Company to capture public attention through radio. The program, featuring musicians dressed as the brand's famous Michelin Man, was more than just a music broadcast. It was an innovative form of disguised advertising that drew in listeners and solidified the brand's presence in the public consciousness. A photo from 1934 captures the Hoover Dam under construction, straddling the Colorado River Gorge between Nevada and Arizona. This monumental engineering project was designed to control flooding, provide irrigation water, and generate electricity, driving industrial development in the southwestern United States. Workers endured extreme conditions, with temperatures often exceeding 113 degrees Fahrenheit. To mitigate the heat, cooling tunnels were created, and giant fans were installed to make the work areas more bearable. In August 1946, a photo shows Winston Churchill emerging from the sea during a vacation in the south of France. Having recently completed his term as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom after leading the nation through World War II, Churchill's post-war image reflected a moment of peace after years of intense global conflict. An image of the ENIAC, the first computer in history, reveals the massive scale of the machine, which was developed during World War II. Weighing 30 tons and occupying 1,800 square feet, the ENIAC was designed to perform complex calculations for military ballistics, replacing time-consuming manual methods and marking a pivotal moment in the evolution of computing technology. On October 24, 1946, the first photo of space was captured by a camera mounted on a modified V-2 rocket launched by the United States. Originally developed by Nazi Germany, the V-2 rocket was adapted by American scientists for research. The camera took a photo every 1.5 seconds as the rocket ascended to an altitude of 65 miles, reaching space and marking the dawn of space exploration. In a powerful photo from the 1968 Mexico City Olympics, gold medalist Tommy Smith and bronze medalist John Carlos raised their clenched fists in the Black Power salute during the 200-meter dash medal ceremony. The gesture was a bold statement against racial oppression in the United States, where the civil rights movement still faced considerable resistance, making this one of the most iconic moments in Olympic history. A tragic image from the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing shows 78-year-old marathon runner Bill Ifrig lying on the ground after being knocked down by the force of the explosion, just meters from the finish line. The photo of Ifrig amidst the chaos became a symbol of the tragedy that shook Boston, resulting in 3 deaths and over 260 injuries, marking one of the darkest days in the marathon's history. In one of the most emotional moments of the 20th century, John F. Kennedy Jr., just 3 years old, is captured giving a solemn salute toward his father's coffin during President John F. Kennedy's state funeral in 1963. The salute, given as the funeral procession left St. Matthew's Cathedral, remains one of the most poignant symbols of the grief felt by the nation after the assassination of the beloved president. A heartbreaking 1980 photo from the Karamoja district of Uganda shows a missionary holding the hand of a starving child. This arid region was suffering from one of its worst humanitarian crises in history, where severe drought led to the deaths of approximately 21% of the children. The image underscores the devastating impact of famine in the region. During Prohibition in the United States, 1920 to 1933, government agents were often seen pouring illegal alcohol into the sewers, as captured in this image from New York City. Despite the ban on alcohol, Prohibition fueled a booming black market for illicit booze, with organized crime syndicates, like Al Capone's, profiting immensely from the underground trade of alcohol. A photo from 1921 shows a Chicago policewoman checking if a woman's swimsuit complies with the laws of the time. Back then, women's swimwear could not be more than 6 inches above the knee, and both shoulders and thighs had to be covered. While women faced these strict regulations, men were free to wear short trunks without such scrutiny, highlighting the era's gender-based societal expectations. A chilling 1960s image shows the mask worn by Edward Piasnell, also known as the Beast of Jersey, during his brutal attacks on the Isle of Jersey. Piasnell terrorized the local community, committing at least 13 rapes and acts of sodomy. He often carried out his crimes theatrically, donning this sinister mask to intimidate his victims and evade identification. In a haunting photo, Harvey Glattman, one of the most notorious serial killers of the 1950s, took a picture of 19-year-old Judy Dull before driving her to the Mojave Desert, where he strangled her. Glattman lured young women with promises of modeling jobs, using the photos he took to fuel his twisted fantasies. He was later captured and sentenced to death for the murder of 3 women. A peculiar image from 1952 shows the participants of the Miss Slenderlegs contest in Miami, wearing hoods to conceal their identities. The competition focused solely on the legs of the participants, with the hoods ensuring that the judges were not influenced by the women's facial appearance. An intense image from 1943 captures Colonel Anthony Biddle, a Marine Corps officer renowned for his exceptional hand-to-hand combat skills, as he challenges Marines to attack him with bayonets. Biddle's rigorous training techniques, which included demonstrating self-defense and disarmament under live combat conditions, became legendary in the U.S. military. These captivating historical moments offer a glimpse into the pivotal events and individuals that shaped history, from acts of courage and tragedy to innovation and defiance. Stay tuned to more fascinating stories from the past, and don't forget to subscribe for future episodes.